video podcast. I'm your host, Steph, also known as the Knitting Samurai, and here it is on a rainy Thursday. I am coming to you from New Hampshire, where I have a small child with me, a very small child. We're on week 6 of maternity leave. He's 6 weeks old on Tuesday, so yeah, just starting to settle into a routine, and he's doing 5 to 6 hours at night in one big chunk, and then a second chunk of 3 hours. So only one get up per night, so that's good. I'll take that. And what else do I have to tell you? I think we should jump into the knitting, and then I'll fill you in on what's going on with us later on in the show. How's that? Okay. So first up, I finished my Houdini socks. So these are by Capori, and the construction is an afterthought leg. And I think my little person is looking for me. So I'll just tell you about these real quick. Last time you saw one completed, now they're both completed. I did a 2x2 rib up the leg instead of following the pattern that was described. I used US zeros, 2mm needles. And the yarn is Desert Vista Dye Works Vizio base in Holiday Wreath colorway. So it was a fun knit. I'm not sure I would knit them again. Just, I don't know. I might if I were stuck and wanted to do a footprint, because the footprint is an interesting construction, but I am very partial to my toe-up heel gussets. Do you know that Sandra Bullock movie While You Were Sleeping back in the mid-90s? That's kind of how I feel like right now. Like, oh, well, what was 2 seconds for you was actually 5 hours for me. So Tristan did wake up. We had to go run a couple of errands. The internet went down in the house, and I had to go to Comcast to get that fixed, and it's better now. And he ate, and now he's down for his afternoon nap. And I think we'll get some time here together to finish up our podcast. So I did want to just tell you one more thing about this. Let me move my notes to a better spot. This pair of socks used 411 yards of the Desert Vista Dye Works Vizio yarn. So, and oh, they are less fraternal than I thought they are. No, I guess I knew that the toes were going to be a smidge off. This one has more white than that one. But they're okay, and the legs line up perfect, and that's what shows out of my pants, right? Or out of my shoes. So, yay, they're done and off the needles. And that puts my stash dash total at 5,685 yards. So I am officially 104% completed my 5K. I don't know, I wanted to see what percent past 5K I'm going to get to. So 4% past the 5K, however, makes sense to word that, but yay! Also on the needles this week, I've got all these bags all over the place. So this was from the UFO bin. This is the Provence Baby Cardigan by Cicely Glaude McDonald. I believe it's a free pattern. And a really old black and white printout from, when did I cast this on? May 2011. That's been in a project bag all that time. So I put a stitch marker on it. I had the back, well, I didn't have it completed. I had the back done to the stitch marker. And so just past the armhole decreases, and then I put it down. So I finished up the back, and then I did which side is this? Right front. Oh no. No, yes. Yes, no? Yes. Yes, left front. So that's for the collar. I was thinking it was the armhole, but here's the armhole decreases over here. And there's this cute little lace pattern down on the bottom edge. I am using Barocco Vintage in the color 512, US size 6, 4mm needles. And here is the opposite side, the right front side. I finished the lace portion on that, and I'm working my way up to the armhole decreases. So after that, the sleeves are done as separate pieces, and then everything's assembled once they're completed. I had thought about doing the sleeves, like sewing it on the shoulders and picking up for the sleeves and just knitting them down. But I think I like the portability of the, just here's a little sleeve to finish and knit and work on, versus having the whole sweater on my lap and having to turn it every time. So I hear little little noises. I don't know if he's gonna interrupt us or not, so I'm just gonna, oh. Well, hopefully it's not another 5 hours till I see you. She's here, she's gone, she's back. So, what else do I have to tell you? Camp Loopy is, I'm so disorganized. But who can blame me, right? It's back and forth and up and down, all that. So, a pattern here. I have to keep it in the back. Okay. There. This nice? Okay. I'm here. I'm with you. I'm focused. Okay. And I have 2 projects in this bag. So, my Camp Loopy project, I missed oh my. This is what you get when you have to run out the door to go pick up a little person and you just throw the sharp, pointy needles in a project bag, whatever one's laying around. Okay. So, Camp Loopy. I missed the market week for Project 3, and I've pretty much given up on the prospect of finishing Project 2 in time. But that doesn't mean I'm not making it. So I did make it through Clue 1, and now I'm working my way down the side of the cowl. So this is the Foolproof by Louise Zass Bangham, I think. It's not in my notes, but I think that's who it's by. And these are US size 6. I'm making it up. I really shouldn't, because I have it written down right here. Let's see. No, Camp Loopy 2. Yes, US size 5, 3.75 millimeter needles. I am making a size medium, and I'm using Squishy with Cashmere. So, I really think it's pretty, and I like how it's coming along. Definitely, since it's half the stitches, it goes much faster than it was going on the other section. I did zoom past the stopping point on Clue 1, and so mine will probably be a little wider than everyone else's. That's all right with me. And I am being very vigilant about the way I'm carrying up my yarn, because the pattern is explicit that you should carry up your yarn and not break it. And I really don't like the way it's looking on that edge. I'm not happy with it, but I'm being meticulous and doing it the same way every time, and that's the best way I can think to do it, which is just, I don't know, maybe I'll try something else, because right now I'm passing it over the live stitch. So I do the first stitch, I pass it in between, and then I do the next stitch. That's how I've been doing it, to trap the contrast color and carry it up with me, and I do it every row, every other row. I've been doing that. But it's making this really messy edge. So maybe I'll instead just twist my working yarn around it instead of trapping it in the work itself. I think I'll try that. And that way I could also control and keep it on the back side, because right now it is showing on the front side. So, live and learn. Just shows you that no matter how long you've been knitting, you still do foolish things, or you forget, like, well, what would be the best way to do this? And you just have to come up with a new solution. But that's part of what makes knitting fun, right? So, speaking of new solutions, I want to say thank you to Laura. She did give me the Fish Lips Kiss, whatever that's called, Fish Lips Kiss heel pattern, and I cast on for my next pair of socks, and I'm going to use it there. So, so thank you, Laura. This is my next pair. Thinking they're going to be for Steve, because he's one of my worthy recipients for the year that I need to knit a pair for, but I'm not sure if this color, if he can pull this off. So this yarn is Opal Smoky Eyes and Colorful Lips in color 6144, and it's basically a blue-gray with pops of the bright green and bright yellow. And so depending on how much of the yarn itself is yellow and green, I think, like, if it's 80% blue and gray, I'm sure he'll be fine with it. So I just need to kind of run it by him and see how he feels about the color. I'm using US Zeros 2mm needles, and I'm doing toe up 2x2 rib. I read through the instructions for the Fish Lips Kiss heel, and I think that I'm just going to follow, rather than tracing a foot, I'm going to follow my normal, at the point when I would Oh, no, I can't take it at the point where I would start gusset increases, I don't think. Maybe. I have to look at it again, I think, to figure it out. Or I could just not be lazy and measure. Steve's foot's like a half a size or a full size, depending on the brand of shoes, larger than mine. So it's not like it will be, I could do it off my heel, off my foot, and make it like a quarter of an inch longer. So that's where that is anyways. That's the first one. So, yeah, I like this yarn a lot, but of course I am a big Opal fan. So I went out in the garage on Monday earlier this week, and just pulled out all of my self-striping opals and looked at them and said, okay, I want to knit a pair for my Uncle Dave, and a pair for my husband, and a pair for my mother-in-law. So which one of these is going to work for who? So those were the ones I most wanted to knit that I thought would line up with Steve the best. So those are on the needles. And then next up, I think it's time for us to take a trip to the UFO bin. Oh boy. So as you recall, I had 39 unfinished objects, UFOs, in storage in various places, either out in the garage in the UFO bin or under the stairs in our house, just in project bags shoved under there. So I rounding them all up, pulling a couple out a week and saying, frog it or finish it, or what am I doing here? So I've been successful going through the smaller projects, you know, accessories, toys, that type of stuff, and knitting them and just letting it go. I'm having a much harder time dealing with it's 4 or 5 sweaters for me that are on needles right now. So there's such a big time commitment, and it's so hard to say, oh yeah, that's 40% done, but I don't think I want it now. So I was looking at one that I cast on back in 2010, and I think it's a lace sideways vest basically, and I think I'm gonna pull that one out and work on that. So maybe more on that next week. But I did frog the Monster Mobile that I was working on by Rebecca Danger. Yeah. In between, I would say, after Roland turned about a year, I started in on, let's have another baby. Let's have another baby. And as part of that, during that time period, she published the Monster Nursery book. So I got it, and I was just like on the slide, like, oh, I think I'm gonna knit this mobile. Well, I got halfway through one monster, and I was doing it in the exact colors of the pattern, and something else distracted me, and it was like, I don't even know if we're gonna have another baby, so why am I knitting this? So I set it aside. But obviously, second baby is here, and the mobile is really cute, but I reread the pattern, and it's gonna take a huge amount of time to knit that, and I feel like he'll be beyond that, and I would like a motorized musical. Actually, we have 2 motorized musical mobiles. So one of them is the Bumblebees one that Roland used, and that bedding set, I'm so sick of that bedding set. Oh, yellow is not my favorite color, and so I might cannibalize that and knit something and just hang those on where the Bumblebees were. But I'm definitely not going to knit the whole circle and the I-cord hang part. Like, it's just too involved for me to do the Monster Nursery, the Monster Mobile right now. So that one got frog. I do have these right here, which are magic slippers. I knit the first one. It's Fiber Nymph Dye Works Happy Camper, which is your sport weight base in the Look 'em in the Eyes colorway. It was a club colorway. I held it double, and I measured, but somehow his feet are growing like crazy, so it's probably that, not anything with pattern. But these are too small for Roland, and I really like the construction, so I think I'm just going to knit the second one, put it in the 24-month size bin of clothing that I'm holding for Tristan out in the garage. And when he's big enough, he can wear them, and they'll just be in there for him. So something quick, like I'm half done. I just need to finish the second one, and then I'll be completely done. And this actually, I'm counting towards my, actually could be a drinking game at this point. This is, even though it's a club colorway, it was the October club that came in, and I got it the same weekend that I got that we went to Rhinebeck, and so I include this in my mind as part of my Rhinebeck purchases last year. So that would be nice to get this completed and off the needles, and I would feel like, all right, I dealt with another skein of Rhinebeck. So back in 2009, 2010 time period, maybe 2008, I was doing the 52 pair plunge, which is to knit 52 pairs of socks in a year, and I know for sure that for 2 of those years I went well over 25 pairs and was on track to complete them. Maybe 2011 too, because I feel like some of the baby socks I knit for Roland were included in that. But anyways, and also during that time period I had a lot of knitting. Each year I had a knitting page a day calendar, and so one of them was stitch definition, stitch patterns, and one of them was knitting quotes and inspirational things. And I happened to like one of the stitch patterns and decided to apply it to a toe-up sock. So these were cast on in October 2010, and they are worn as laces in her shepherd socks in the colorway Irving Park, and it's just one of those page a day stitch patterns. So I liked it at the time, but this has been sitting probably, that was I would guess that this was like 2 days worth of knitting, and then I put it down because the pattern was more challenging than like a vanilla sock pattern, which is what I tend to like to knit. So yeah, they've just been sitting. So these are definitely coming off the needles, because if I haven't finished them by now, I'm not going to. So that takes 2 frogged items, 1 potentially back on the needles item. That makes my trip to the UFO bin this week. That takes the total down to 27 projects. So my goal is to get to 19 or 20 sitting on the needles. And if I don't touch the sweaters, that's a quarter of the projects. So I think I'm only going to rip this back to the toe. It's a perfectly good toe. No, I'm going to do the whole thing. I'm going to do the whole thing, and then when I'm motivated to use this yarn again, it'll be all caked up. And so what else has been going on with us? We did some gardening this weekend. Steve and Roland did some gardening actually, and Tristan and I sat on a patio chair and observed. But we turned our flower bed into a shrub bed. Much less work. So we planted some azaleas and blue prince holly. So it looks really pretty. He did a great job. So that's been going on. And then last week my mom came one day and we watched a romantic drama, I guess. I don't normally watch those kind of movies. We watched Labor Day, which is with Kate Winslet and Josh Brolin. The same director did that did Up in the Air, which is a George Clooney movie that it's probably George Clooney's only movie that I like, but I really like the style of that, and even though the plots are completely different, very similar style in Labor Day as well, so I highly recommend it. I give it 2 thumbs way up. And then I also watched World War Z with Brad Pitt, the zombie action movie. I can't watch scary stuff very easily. It bothers me for days. But to be able to fast forward whenever the tension in the movie got too high, or it got a little gory for me, which is what I did, and then just like I wanted to follow the plot through and hear how the human race was going to respond to this threat, but I didn't need to see all the zombie details. So it worked out well for me with my fast forward button. I enjoyed it. Don't know if you would. And I've been reading Divergent. My cousin recommended that when she was down visiting a couple weeks back. And the movie's coming out, or the movie's coming out on DVD, I guess, soon. And so I started that, and I'm about halfway through, really enjoying it. It's very similar to The Hunger Games. That's what it reminds me of. So definitely not like Twilight. Twilight irritated me too much. I couldn't listen to the whiny teenager, and I don't feel that way at all about this main character. So that's what's going on with us. That's my impressions of things. And then this coming weekend, Steve's running another road race, so the boys and I are going to go cheer him on. And I think that's about it. for this section. There's more to come. And now for your 2014 intentions update for the month of July. I don't know, I like jazz hands this week. So in terms of knitting with all of my Rhinebeck yarn, I think I bought 13 skeins. I've used 8 of them and I finished one of them. So I haven't added any for this past month. That's the same as for June, but I feel like that's still very much an attainable goal by October. 14 pairs of socks. I have completed 9 pairs with the addition of the Houdini socks, so I am right on track with that. And then I've done all these alternate constructions, the OMG heel, the Afterthought heel, the Houdini sock, a bottom gusset, and now thanks to Laura, I'm going to give the Fish Lips Kiss heel a try too. So that's great. I'm working my way through all these alternate things. I still really like my toe-up heel flap. So I think Fish Lips Kiss has got the best chance of taking over my love of the heel flap. But slippers. So I did finish those seamless Salomas. So that's 1 pair out of the 5 done, and I need to do 4 more for Christmas presents. Hopefully, I'll get on that. We'll see. Questionable. And then oh goodness, sweaters. I've done 3 sweaters for the year, and I need to do 2 for me and 1 for Roland. Not sure if I'll get that. And then in terms of knitting hats, last year I knit 8, and since I've completed the cable hat for Tristan, that makes 12 so far this year to date. So that one is checked down. And I think that is the show for you this week. And I will catch you next time. I hope you have a great few days until we speak again, and enjoy what's going on in your knitting. Take care. Bye.